So the last question I have for you, Yuki, sorry, just to go back to what we were talking about earlier. What would you say, if any, is the difference between our community and people on social media that are talking about, personal brands or turning your hobby into a business, or because that's very popular online, especially on the various social platforms. People are there's a big sort of there's a marketing movement around this language of personal branding. Become your personal brand. Where's this the essence view of that?
So we are living in this physical material world, but we are a spiritual being. And when I say we are a spiritual being, everything has a spiritual foundation. The tree has a spiritual foundation. The earth has a spiritual foundation. The universe itself has a spiritual foundation. So if you are addressing something without addressing the spiritual element, it will be incomplete. That's my perspective, right? So you can never talk about identity without understanding the spiritual foundation. And what is branding? It's identity, right? So you can never have a complete understanding of your business brand without talking about what is personal brand, right? Your unique identity of who you're being in this world and the gift and the voice that you're given. Without having a spiritual foundation, I don't think one can fully understand what that is. And I think because business, I really am not sure what the definition of success is for a lot of people in the world. And when it comes to business, and when we talk about success, what comes up for most people is the money that you earn and the make. The higher and the more you make the money, the more successful you are. Yeah. There are a lot of people who, we have been sharing this, right? There are many millionaires who became millionaires and became miserable, not feeling something is missing internally. So I think the new definition of success in business is wholeness inside and financial growth outside. And the intention is to touch and serve others, to have everybody in this world able to see and shine the light in them. And we do that through our own light. So business, marketing, personal branding, for me, living the life that I have lived here, I don't know how people are talking about that without having a psychological understanding of what identity is. And you cannot fully understand what psychology is without understanding the spiritual part of us. So, right, Soul Purpose Group, okay, we help people build their business by creating a personal brand, understanding what really identity and personality is, because we understand the spiritual foundation. So that would be probably the difference. And it's very interesting now that you ask me that question and speak out loud. It's almost dangerous people who are talking about personal brand and business without understanding the nature of psychology and identity and not coming from that spiritual foundation. People might be earning a lot of money, but we don't know how they're feeling inside. Robin Williams is a good example, right? That Tony Robbins often talks about, where you can have a massive accomplishment in the outside and not fulfill inside. And I mean, Tony talks about that's the ultimate failure, right? You appear to be so successful in the outside, but he committed suicide because he wasn't fulfilled inside. How bad can that be, right? You are being, and then the more, if somebody's like that, the more successful you become or you appear to become outside, you won't be able to get out of it. The only way out of it is to end the life. That's what he did. So I think it's time to, and I think the world is ready, right, to begin understanding the new definition of success. There needs to be an integration inside, and wholeness is the best terminology that I can think of, right? It's subjective for people what that means and feels like, and I think that's also another area that we need to step into, right? Because just like science, business also want a metrics, numbers that they can assess. But the true happiness, how can you measure happiness and an internal fulfillment, right? So I think the level of success needs to, the interpretation and definition of success needs to expand and redefine. And sometimes when people don't come from the spiritual foundation, they are curious about and they know that it exists, but because they cannot measure, they don't take it to an account for the business growth. But I think there is going to be a new way to approach this, and that is what needs to expand, because then when somebody is incongruent with the outside and the inside, at some point life is very honest. Life is going to show you what's in lack of alignment, and later on you are going to end up needing to address that. Yeah. Does that work? Does that work?
Yeah, I mean, the last bit that you said, I think, is all of it.
Yeah.
I think
It's interesting. A lot of the answer to your question is something that I have always been aware of, right? But it's good to sort of express and describe that, so people can hear that. And maybe because I have been on the journey of connecting the dots and integrating, I might be able to explain and describe what that is. But this sort of, I love the idea of doing this conversation, because when people hear, people are looking for something that explains what they're feeling, right? Because they're feeling internally something is not right, but that hasn't come up to the conscious awareness of how to explain and describe it. Only because I have been in the connecting the dot journey long enough that I have been able to, bridge that gap. And I feel like that's what I'm doing. Yeah.